大家好，今日好榮幸邀請到宏利康健護理策略首席投資組合經理 Stephen Slaughter 同我哋分享一下後疫情時代康健護理行業嘅投資前景。過去幾年市場發生好多事啦，當然有疫情爆發、新冠病毒繼續存在、通脹升溫、地緣政局緊張等等。先有請 Stephen 同我哋講下啦，種種事件點樣影響康健護理行業發展呢？ Hello Stephen, we are so glad to have you today. Multiple global events occurred in recent years: the pandemic, the persistent COVID environment, elevated global inflation, and geopolitical tension. As a result, actually, commentators now said that we are living in a new normal. How these events impacted the global healthcare sector?
Well, thank you, Miranda, and thank you for hosting this session, and a pleasure to be here in Hong Kong. There have been some headwinds, clearly, from this new normal. Our companies we track closely have faced inflationary challenges, labor shortages in particular. If we look at the provider sector, shortages of nurses and increased wages have led to headwinds for those firms. We've seen in manufacturing on the med tech side, inflation impact costs of things like chips, oil, which impacts not just resins, but also transportation costs. So there's a real headwinds. Lastly, even the pharmaceutical companies have faced some disintermediation and some deglobalization of their supply chains, all of which have led to pressures on these companies. All that said, we do see those pressures waning somewhat here in recent weeks, which is encouraging. And I would note that despite those headwinds, we do see some tailwinds, ironically, from COVID. The first of which we'd highlight is just a meaningful validation of the biopharmaceutical and medtech arenas, their business models and research-based, science-based companies being able to bring forward vaccines, therapeutics for COVID, as well as the diagnostic testing in record time, is a real proof point as to why this is an important foundational industry for the broader economy. Lastly, I'd note that ironically, we actually see some real tailwinds coming out of COVID, out of the pandemic into an endemic state. In particular, much of our research in recent months has identified real risks to patients who've been affected with COVID, with higher rates of new onset diabetes, higher rates of new onset on cardiovascular disease, also higher rates of CNS or central nervous system disorders, all of which will require treatments. So the ability of those companies, in particular the biopharmaceutical and medtech companies, to address those elevated levels of disease, we think are an important tailwind for the sector moving forward.
Stephen 都講到疫情啦，同埋疫情後新常態，當然同康健護理行業息息相關啦。過去幾年因為疫情，環球人手市場啦、供應鏈都一路被打亂嘅，加上通脹，的確會對康健護理公司造成一個不利嘅影響。就行業嘅人手緊張啊，原材料價格上升，油價等等都上升啦，醫療器械成本都升嘅，加上去全球化，一啲製藥行業嘅供應鏈都受咗影響，種種令到成本咧貴咗。但係唔單止係壞事嚟嘅喎。Stephen 話都有好事嘅喎，疫情可以推動到個業界創新，康健護理公司喺歷來最短嘅時間之內研發出有效嘅疫苗啦，一啲診斷測試同埋新嘅療法嚟到對抗病毒，見證住業界嘅科研創新能力嘅，有研發能力嘅公司就更加受惠啦。疫情就由全球大流行轉變為一個風土病，有啲醫學文獻就話，曾經染過新冠病毒嘅患者健康狀況嚟睇，嚟緊患上心血管疾病、代謝病、中樞神經系統疾病等等嘅風險都會較高嘅，因此個醫療需求上升啦，同埋會比以往仲急切咗添。